This is Dying Your Way.
Welcome everyone to the Dying Your Way podcast. I'm Claire O'Berry. I am your host. I am very excited as always, but particularly excited about today's guest and topic. It's going to be a bit of a challenging topic. It's about two death row inmates and their experience, which we will get into at length. And my guest is Robert Murali Pacini, who is a past director of the Prison Project based out of California. And he has been a friend for decades, and he has also been my mentor. He's the one that taught me to go into prisons like San Quentin and Terminal Island and Folsom State Prison, to go in and actually teach meditation classes and teach programs to inmates that were taking the course. And he'll be talking about that a little bit. It was just one of the greatest joys in my life to be able to learn from him. And that's why I really wanted to share with this audience the experience of these two death row inmates. And let me just be clear that this is not about excusing crimes or having any opinion one way or the other about capital punishment. That's not the purpose of this podcast. Today's podcast, it's really about the heart being broken open, and that there's redemption for all of us. You know, most of us are fortunate enough that we haven't gone to jail for it, but there's just a need for redemption for all of us. But certainly that was the experience of these death row inmates, and Morley had quite a bit to do with that. So while their circumstances are very extreme, the work that these two men did, their time on death row, really mirrors the work that we need to do as well. So without any further ado, I am going to invite and introduce you to Robert Murali Pacini. There he is. Look at you.
Hi, Claire.
Oh gosh, I am just so happy to have you on. I'm so happy that you agreed to do this, and really excited for the things that we're going to be talking about. But just to see you again, I mean, that excites me. I think I'm going to let you do the talking about the Prison Project and kind of give a context for the audience about the Prison Project before we get into talking about James and Miguel. So I'll just kind of turn it over to you.
Okay, great. Yeah, hey, thank you for this opportunity to talk about something that is so meaningful and for both of us, and that I did for so many years, almost 30 years, in the Prison Project. So just to give your listeners some context, in our particular spiritual path, that our main teacher in 1975, he was touring around the country, and he was an enlightened spiritual master from India, and he did several world tours. And while he was here, he actually went into a prison in Florida and did a program for a group of inmates, and that was his first and only experience in a prison. And then a couple of years later, while he was touring a second time in this country, he gave instructions to a group of his teachers that he had initiated to go ahead and to take our spiritual practices and teachings to prison inmates everywhere,
Yeah.
and meaning the entire globe. And so that was really the beginning of the prison project, the way that we know it now. And over the years, of course, it's grown very, very large. But and then shortly after that, there was a correspondence course that was being written by one of the scholars of our path.
An
That's
amazing course. It was really
oh,
an amazing course. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So this scholar wrote in very simple, down to earth language about some very esoteric spiritual truths and made them very accessible to people. And our spiritual teacher said, "Hey, take these teachings, a set of teachings, and give it to people in prison. Tell them that they will receive everything that they need for their spiritual enlightenment and their personal transformations just from reading the course and from having a dedicated practice of meditation." So those were and a very important and.
Yeah.
So those were the two important keys to the prison project. Really, they were the core of everything that we did was to give out this set of teachings and to really make sure that that our students were had a committed and serious meditation practice. So little by little, over the years, the Prison Project grew and grew. I didn't actually get involved until the early 80s. And what happened was that when our teacher went back to India in 81, he left behind another director at our ashram, our spiritual meditation retreat site in upstate New York. And this man, he asked those of us who had stayed behind to be on staff in New York to accompany him to do meditation programs in some of the local prisons where we already had students enrolled in the correspondence course. So I volunteered, and and that was it. That was the beginning of my 30-year career in going into prisons. And there's just been really such an extraordinary time. I've had the great privilege of going into dozens and dozens of prisons all over the country and meeting with hundreds of prison inmates who were seriously committed to studying the lessons and to having a meditation practice. So that
And
was
you also did trainings that
correct.
to train other people to go in to the prisons, which I took. And I have to say, there are things that I learned in this training that are applicable and that I use to this day when I'm working with people at the end of life. To be able to do that, because you really, one of the things that you taught us was about the glass wall, and that you can't con a con, and you needed to be very authentic, but at the same time you had to have boundaries that people could not come through that glass wall, so your heart was open behind the wall, but their emotions and feelings weren't affecting you. And I'm just saying that because I think about that a lot when I'm working with patients and their families, because I want to be as open-hearted as possible. And at the same time, I want to be able to walk out and leave that situation and leave the emotional impact behind because of, potential burnout and things like that. Just a little aside, I thought I'd throw that in. But do you remember when we went to Paris to do the training?
Sure.
Highlight. Highlight of my life was being in France with you. But anyway, go ahead. Is there anything else you wanted to say about to give the context? And
No. Well, just what you're talking about, just to elaborate on that a little bit more about training volunteers. So, one of the things that's so that your listeners are aware of this. So when we first started when I first started in 81, we had several hundred students enrolled in the correspondence course all around the country. And in a very short time, we were reaching thousands of people. And then in about the early 90s, we were reaching as many as 6,000 prison inmates every month with a correspondence course lessons. And one of the things that we did was that we trained volunteers in our meditation centers all over the country to go into their local prisons and to do meditation programs, to answer questions, to help people with their meditation practices. And and over the years we trained hundreds of volunteers all over the country, all over the world, to go into their local prisons. So we had a very active prison projects in Australia and France and Italy, in New Zealand, recently in Mexico. The Mexico Prison Project has been just really taking off and doing some wonderful things there.
Yeah.
So between this very active, very devoted group of teachers, and word of mouth by inmates just speaking to each other about how extraordinary the course was, we had very shortly 6,000 inmates per month receiving lessons all over the world. So it's been extraordinary to watch that growth and to be able to interact with people on such a profound level. And another important aspect of the work that we do in the office in Oakland is that we have a very active letter writing team. So we actually receive hundreds of letters every month from our students, and they can be everything from just like these very simple thank you notes to where they're sharing very profound spiritual experiences with us, to just sharing the real challenges of prison life and how difficult it is, and being cut off from their loved ones and all that. So we see all of that through the letters, and we have this extraordinary team of people who respond and write letters to our students, based on what they need. And it's all, the responses are always based on the teachings and the practices of our spiritual path. So it's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful service.
Yeah, it's amazing how beautifully written the correspondence course is, and how beautifully written the letters are from the inmates, and their wisdom and understanding, or their own vulnerabilities that they share. And I was always touched by that. So let's talk about, do you want to talk about James first, or do you want to talk about Miguel first? And so go ahead.
Why don't we start with James, because James is executed first, and then we can talk about Miguel. Sure.
Okay, so James was executed on December the 15th in 1998. And Miguel, who we're going to be talking about later, was executed on June the 26th, 2001. So, tell us how you came to know them, and what stood out to you about both of those men. And let's start with James.
Right. Okay. Wow. Okay. So where to begin? So what was really interesting, Claire, was that I very quickly found out that there was a very large number of our students who were in Texas prisons. And even when we had about 6,000 students per month, about a quarter of them were in Texas prisons. So and that had always been true throughout the history of our prison project work. So it made me go, wow, and we would getting these extraordinary letters from people like James and Miguel, who are prolific writers, and they shared their beautiful spiritual experiences, their experiences of transformation with us in these beautiful letters. So it got real clear to me real quick that, hey, I got to go and meet these people, So I made it one of my yearly duties to take a month and go tour Texas prisons, the ones where we had the most students, and meet these people. And I was able to go to Texas Death Row and to meet Miguel and to meet James as well. So that was was really quite extraordinary. And they were very different men. James was a very quiet, sort of a private man, but you could just tell. I mean, he was a very powerful man, very connected, very gosh, what are the words? Humble, but just this is really beautiful sense of a deeply connected man. Whereas Miguel, although he was also very deeply connected, but he was very fun and outgoing and gregarious and a real kind of go-getter. And he was the one at Alice Unit where the Texas death row was, who really pulled together this community of men on death row and created what we call in our spiritual communities a sangam, which means community. It's a group of people of like minds who get together to study and practice. And
it was Miguel that brought the death row inmates together.
That's right.
Jesus. Okay.
That's right. He didn't do that. He was actually, they got together, they would meet out in the yard, they would meditate together, they would study the lessons and discuss the lessons together. And Miguel was the one that really made all that happen. So and we were getting letters from these death row inmates going, "Hey, look at this," and I got, "Hey, I've got to go and meet these men." So I was able to do that. I met James once and Miguel twice. So and it was, even though the visits were short, but they were very beautiful, and you could really tell, these were really special human beings who were very.
The gratitude they seem to have for how their lives had been changed through the course was very evident, and not just their letters, but all of the inmates' letters. Anyway, I interrupted you. Sorry.
Oh, no, that's okay. No, that's a perfect segue, because one of the things that I really wanted your listeners to know about was that as just before James was executed, he wrote a letter to our spiritual teacher, and she responded to him in this extraordinary letter. And one of the things that she did was that for the new year of what was it, 99, I guess it was, that she actually did a public program in a crowded hall with hundreds of people, maybe thousands.
I was there.
Well, yeah, me too. Yeah, we were, oh my God, we were so fortunate to be there. But so she read this letter that James had written to her, and then her response to this letter was also read to the audience.
Yeah, she didn't read it herself.
I'm sorry. Yeah, thank you for that clarification. Yeah, there was a couple who who was it? I think the man read James's letter, and then the wife read the response from our teacher.
Yeah.
So it was an extraordinary program, and the thing is that you really got that sense of the enormous gratitude that James had for having been given the gift of this path, that it really enabled him to transform his life and to really open his heart and experience the divinity that is in his heart and all of our hearts, to see it himself and in the world around him. So his letter to our teacher was full of that, was full of that extraordinary gratitude and appreciation and acknowledgement of the extraordinary blessings that he had been given from this path, And in her response to him, she acknowledges that too, and she said these amazing things to him. She said, she thanked him for this very beautiful letter, and assured him that when he crossed over, when he left his body, that he would be met by great beings and great siddhas and saints who would be with him and bless him and transport him into the next step of his journey. And she also said, and I love this because I've never heard her say anything like this before or after. She said, when I look in the star-filled evening sky after the evening of your execution, I will look up and I will see a new star named James. So she was really, giving him this extraordinary blessing and acknowledging, a very, exalted place in the universe,
Yeah.
It's so beautiful to hear her say that,
There wasn't a dry eye in the house. I'll just say that. One of the things when I was preparing for this podcast, you can go on the Texas Department of Criminal Justice website, and I could look James up. And for all of the death row inmates, they have their last statement there's a link so you can read their last statement. And can I just read you
No, please.
the one from James, because I think it really kind of says it all. And I'll just read this. It said, so his final statement reads, as the ocean always returns to itself, love always returns to itself. So does consciousness. It always returns to itself. And I do so with love on my lips. May God bless all mankind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's beautiful, Claire. I'm
Mm.
so glad you read that. And it is true, and for your listeners, that he says in just a few very simple, heartfelt sentences, like these very esoteric spiritual truths. To
Yeah.
the heart of our spiritual path is in those words that he just, really. And it's so beautiful to hear him say that. And
And now there's a star named James. I love it. Okay. Well, now, if you don't mind, we'll talk about Miguel. And
Sure.
I know you had more of an interaction with him, and we have talked to um, his wife, Joan, and she's given us permission to talk a little bit more about Miguel and his experience. And it was really an honor to talk to Joan, and that she so freely shared um, not only his artwork, but the writings and things that he did was.
Yeah.
So let's
Yeah.
talk a little bit about Miguel.
Sure. Sure. Oh, well, okay. Where to begin?
Where do we get?
Well, like I said, Claire, I mean, really, I think it was really Miguel who kind of, put it in my head that I had to go to Texas and go and meet these students that we had all over Texas state and federal prisons. So it was really great to do that. And again, he was this very kind of go get him kind of guy, and you could really see why he was able to bring together this community. And even in the middle of death row, that these students were so committed to studying and practicing and to having a deep meditation practice and sharing their experiences with the group. So
I mean, we're sharing these high points in their life, but I think it's important to also talk about the harsh environment that they were in, that they could even practice meditation. I mean, I know that just from my own experience that there were a lot of chaplains and administrators that were very impressed with the transformation of these prisoners. And yeah, I just want the audience to know these are the really great uplifting things that we're sharing, but it was in a very harsh environment.
Yeah.
And okay, go
Yeah.
ahead.
Yeah. Oh no. No. I'm so glad you said that. And just to like um just talk about, a little bit about that too, because I mean it's really very true. I know that we have both gone into San Quentin, and in the last 5 years that I was in the Prison Project office in Oakland, I went to San Quentin, which is one of uh, a high
State prison,
security, yeah,
high
state prison.
security state prison. Yeah.
Right across the bay from San Francisco. And I went there every month for 5 years. And the group of inmates who were there was extraordinary. It really was. It was about a dozen men who came every month for 5 years. And we did our practices. We had profound conversations about the teachings, and their wisdom was mind-boggling.
I'm laughing because I don't know why you weren't there, but the one time that I went into San Quentin, do you want to hear this? Oh, you've heard this story. I'll tell it for the listeners to hear it. So, but I think it does kind of talk about how harsh it is to go in there. So it's an old prison. It's an old state prison. It has a lovely view of the bay, but it is old and it's harsh. And you go to the guard gate and you've already been pre-approved, and then you go to the class to teach. Well, this is my first time in there, and we would do team teaching. Nobody went into these prisons by themselves. So there were 3 of us that were going in together. For some reason, I was the only one that was allowed in. I mean, I don't know what the glitch was, but I was the only one that was allowed in. And they were just like, "Well, you really want to go?" I was like, "Sure, why not?" And so a guard took me through the yard, and it was built pre-Civil War, around the time of the Civil War. So it's old. And then there is like almost a dungeon, a labyrinth of halls and stuff that we have to go down to get to the classroom. And in that, so, I'm seeing a lot of these inmates and they're seeing me, and some of them are very, don't have the privacy that they would like. So I was like trying to get to the classroom like that. But got to the classroom. There were maybe 12 men that were there, and one was specifically seemed to be a leader, but anyway, they were all set up ready for the program, and the guard left. And I wasn't expecting the guard to leave, but he did, and that was fine. So I went ahead, I did the program, and the guard didn't come back when the program was over. And I kept waiting and waiting to be escorted back because I had no idea how to get back up to the yard. And the leader of these inmates, he was just like, "Would you like me to walk you back up?" And I was like, "Would you please?" Yes, please. So he was very, gracious in taking me back up and out. And I just it's not a safe place to be, and I felt very protected, by these inmates, and the guard wasn't going to do it. So yeah, that's my San Quentin story for what it's worth. But anyway,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Yes. We all have our stories.
yeah, I bet you have many.
Well, you know what? No, only just a few where I would kind of felt really a little, nervous, but it's really good. I just wanted to say just for your listeners that it's really true that as volunteers who go into the prisons, the inmates that we work with, men and women, they are so respectful and so grateful
Mhm.
for the effort, for our willingness to come in and to share our knowledge and our practices with them, especially the ones spiritual path. I one thing I want to say, like for example, this group of men in San Quentin that we met with for such a long time, like all of us, they were looking for answers, so they're practicing, different forms of Hinduism, different forms of Christianity, Buddhism, Islam. They're practicing all of these spiritual paths. And that is just fine, because we need to arrive at our answers in the best way that is most appropriate for us,
And there are a lot of other religions, I'm sure Baptist and just Islam and things like that have similar prison projects set up that, so I mean, it's, I'm glad you mentioned that, because a lot of us are, I think however they get there, it's great.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely. And it gives them tremendous, depth, and clarity. They're asking great questions because their questions are based on, an understanding and knowledge of the traditions too, and a real interest. They're looking for answers,
Yeah.
Yeah. And
And I think so much of what we were taught was the philosophy, not only the spirituality, which was the outcome, but the philosophy that is thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of years old, that is Indian tradition that has been passed down, that isn't embraced by a lot of Western religions, and that's fine. But it's not only to me, it's not something you join. It's not something you, um, become a card carrying member of. It's just something. I mean, I'm a Christian, so it's just really an addendum to my spiritual yearning and seeking to be able to go deeper.
Sure.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. I mean, I think the beautiful thing about working with this particular group, especially like with James and Miguel, who were so connected to their hearts. One of the essential teachings of our spiritual path is that, there's this divinity that dwells within each and every one of us. Every person and everything in this universe has this divinity within them that we want to experience in this life. That's why we're here, is to experience that. And every great spiritual path has the same teaching. Buddha, Jesus, Muhammad, all of them say the same thing. Go within. The divine love is within.
The kingdom of God is within.
The kingdom of God, the kingdom of God the Father. The Father and I are one. It's like the teachings are all there. It's just a matter of practicing it and making it a reality and living it in our lives, which I think, James and Miguel did that so beautifully. They were given the opportunity to study and to practice and to use the prison experience to really go within and discover this divinity within, which is what our great spiritual teachers have always taught us is why we're here, why we're on this earth. So
I mean, there was something that was said about taking advantage of the time being in prison. I mean, that was. I want to talk about that.
Yeah. Well, it was like our meditation teacher, the one who started the prison project. He said that. He said, you can make your prison a paradise, so do it, make your prison a holy place, a place where you experience that love that is within you, that divine joy, that love is within you,
Yeah.
So use your time in prison to go there and to
It's portable.
Absolutely.
Portable, you take it anywhere. Okay. Okay, so let's talk about Miguel specifically. And if you could just share with us the time leading up to his actual execution. Okay.
Sure. Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, happy to do that, Claire. So actually, we had this very beautiful statement that was written by a group of volunteers, prison project volunteers from Houston, who over the years had gotten to know Miguel and would visit him regularly. And so there's a statement here that Joan, Miguel's wife, gave us permission to use. And so I'd like to share some statements from it because it's quite extraordinary, and it will give your listeners a very yeah, oh gosh, what's the word? Like intimate maybe view of
Execution.
yeah, of Miguel's final day and final hours before he was actually executed. So let me go ahead here. Miguel invited 5 volunteers to be with him prior to and during his leaving, scheduled for the evening of June the 26th. Several of us visited with him on the morning of the 26th. The visits were joyful and uplifting. Miguel was happy, glowing, and full of love, and definitely ready to leave, or as he was saying, to get parole. As a result, we felt one with Miguel and the excitement of his experience. After lunch, 4 of us gathered at what's called the Hospitality House in Huntsville, Texas. So the house is just 2 blocks away from the Walls unit, the site of the execution, and offers accommodations for family and friends of inmates. We met with a prison chaplain to be briefed about everything that we could expect during the next few hours. Some of Miguel's family members were with us, including 2 teenage nephews, and they began to share many stories about their uncle, including his ability to train all the farm animals, especially a pig, on the farm where he grew up. It was clear that even though he had never known these young boys on the outside, he had left a powerful influence on them, and they were connected with him very much. So as we listened to stories about Miguel, one of our group was having a final visit with him as his spiritual advisor. She said that she had the experience of sitting with a great being. When she looked into his eyes, she felt stillness, peace, infinity, one eye looking in, one eye looking out. At the same time, he exuded extraordinary excitement, saying, "I'm going home. I am going to be with God, with the saints." His excitement and enthusiasm was that of a young boy about to experience 1,000,000 Christmases all in one day, all in one moment. When she returned to Hospitality House, she was beaming and announced, "Miguel is as high as a kite." The excitement in her and her statement pulled us all together, and we could feel that the time for his transition was very near. It was clear also that we were not there to support Miguel. Instead, we were about to participate in a powerful event. Soon, it was time to go to the Walls unit where Miguel's final moments would take place. We were escorted to a waiting area. Everyone treated us with so much respect that we felt nurtured and protected. Soon we were taken to a room close to the execution chamber. There was a row of beige cushioned chairs placed against the wall. We took our place in the chairs. The excitement was palpable. With us were reporters, guards, and chaplains, and everyone was very still. It felt like a sacred moment of profound stillness. We were drawn inward to the silence of one heart. The guard then announced that it was time to go to the witness room, the room where the execution is actually witnessed. We knew that Miguel was ready, and we felt ready too. We were led through a maze of hallways which brought us out onto a beautiful garden, which seemed surreal in this prison setting, as though entering a sacred and secret holy place. The sky was clear and blue. The sun was hot. When we entered the witness room, Miguel was already strapped to the gurney with a microphone above his head. He turned to greet us with a big, big smile and acknowledged his beloved wife, Joan. Then he began with a greeting. I love you. I love all of you. Miguel then invoked all of the saints. He blessed his brothers and sisters and began his final statement. It was a message of unconditional love for every man, woman, and child. And he said, today is a great day to die. Toward the end of his 8-minute statement, he offered the New Year's message. Approach the present with your heart's consent. Make it a blessed event. In that incredible moment, we felt that he was the embodiment of the message, fully living the message with his whole being. He then smiled and nodded his head for the injection to begin. Up until his last breath, Miguel repeated the mantra and then offered himself to the saints, saying, Take me, God, I'm ready. In a short time, he took a deep breath and his eyes rolled as though he was going into a deep meditation. And after a few moments, Miguel was pronounced dead, and we enthusiastically exclaimed his name 3 times before being let outside. We had entered the walls unit under a clear, hot, sunny sky, but when we emerged, the sky was dark. Storm clouds had gathered, and the wind was strong and cool. We could smell rain coming. We looked at each other and laughed and said, Thank you, Lord. We returned to the hospitality house and we were joined by other volunteers who had been there chanting for Miguel and us. We gathered together outside with a wind and thunder and lightning and all the trees swaying majestically. There was a great celebration taking place in the heavens. It was clear that we were all being embraced by nature. We were one with consciousness, and Miguel was part of us all. June 26th was truly a blessed event.
Wow. Unbelievable. I mean, I'm so happy that Joan shared that with us, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd never heard any recounting of an execution, but to get that's just a really private thing that she shared with us, and I really appreciate that she gave us that permission. But there was something else that I think was equally moving, that a letter from the meditation teacher to him, I believe.
Yes. Yeah. Claire, let me pull that up here. So yes. So this statement was from our meditation teacher, and it was addressed to Miguel, and it came to Joan, to his wife, who gave us permission to share this with everyone. Well, let me just go ahead and read it to everyone, so you really get a sense of what's going on here. It's so extraordinary. So the statement reads, your meditation teacher really wants you to know that she is very aware of the time scheduled for Tuesday and will be thinking of you. She will be with you. She loves you and sends you love and blessings. She read your letter and said that it was tremendously beautiful. Know that no matter what experiences have happened to you in this life, God will take you across now. You may never have to come back again. When it's time to leave, keep your thoughts on God. Hold on to God's feet. Think of his image. The 26th is a very auspicious day for you. The moon is in a sign of service and perfection and dharma, or righteous action. At 6:30 p.m., the signs are for harmony, beauty, love, peace, and contentment. These perfectly reflect your life. You came into this life to offer these qualities to others. You were born into a difficult world. Your purpose was to bring your love for philosophy and truth, first to yourself and then to others, to help others find peace and beauty. Your main goal was to be a pillar in society, a leader, strong, responsible. You're an artist who has brought love and harmony to others even while in prison. Your art has the power to transform others. You have completely fulfilled the goals of your life. You came to this life for a new beginning, to become aware of your own consciousness that is one with God. Through Dharma, through righteous action, you have achieved this. You will never go back to where you were. If you have another life, you will be born into a spiritual society. The moment of your death will be very beautiful. The experience will be full of love, full of blessings. You definitely will be with God and the saints during your transition. You will be entering a world of light that you have never glimpsed. You will be held in God's arms like a child and taken to the next place. You will receive total nurturance and support.
He got that message before execution.
Yes, you did.
Well, I did the same thing that I did with James. I went to the Texas criminal justice website and read Miguel's last statement. And yeah, I wasn't aware that it was an 8-minute statement. So there certainly isn't 8 minutes of that that's as his final statement. But I will just read verbatim what Miguel said at the time of his execution as what's on the Texas criminal justice website. So, so it's a portion of his final statement, and it's also from a public record. I love you. I love everyone. I go out with great love and respect. This is a great day to pass on. This so-called dying, this is a great day to approach this glorious event. Approach the present with your heart's consent. Thy will be done. I love you all. Don't waste your time arguing and bickering. There is no closure without love. Forgive one another. You've got to learn how to forgive and embrace one another. The heart is the wishing well that waters the tree. I wish and desire one thing. I wish only the best for all of you. I go out loving everyone and everything. God bless my country. Okay, there's a little bit more. I shed tears of love. May they nourish everyone. Stop killing, start loving. Stop the violence and let my death change society. You don't need any more killing. You don't need any minimum or maximum security or death row. You don't need the death penalty. We need more loving fathers and mothers. It's a good day to die. Take me, God. Hold me and carry me home. That's it.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Yeah, pretty amazing.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, Claire. I'm always so struck by like in their final statements are that they're so generous, they're so great-hearted and really extending their love to the whole world and
Well, those two prisoners anyway.
sure.
I don't know that they all.
Sure. Miguel and James. I mean, they're the ones who were, really such great examples of really imbibing the philosophy, the theology, and living it, and then moving up, moving on into the next phase of this spiritual journey, whatever it may be, and and embracing it. Sure.
I mean, we've spent a lot of time talking about the importance of a spiritual path and meditation. And I think the core of what I would like the listeners to take from this podcast is that, these are two extreme examples of two men who committed acts that they came to later regret and to forgive, themselves, and to make amends with the people that they harmed. But that every action that all of us take and inaction that we have, it ripples through all of our lives and it touches everybody. So whether you're free as a bird or incarcerated today, that everybody can take these examples and think of the constraints or the prison walls that they've put up for themselves and how they can really become free by, well, I mean, you and I believe that, meditation is really important, but not everybody meditates. But everybody does have regrets, and I think it's just important to come to acknowledge that before the need is there, before you're, getting a needle injected to your arm in death row or you're on your deathbed. It's just something that hopefully the listeners are years away from having to deal with that, but we never know when we're going to go. Yeah, we just don't know. So,
Sure. No, it's really true, and that's one of the beautiful things about the example of Miguel and James. I mean, that they used their time. They knew that that their time was limited. They would have ample time to do whatever it is that they needed to do to prepare to move on, and they did it. They were ready. They were ready and asked joyfully and with love in their hearts and gratitude. And, it was just an exalted passing for both of them.
You've done a lot. I mean, I know because we worked together on this. You've done a lot to prepare. I mean, do you feel prepared?
Prepared to die?
Oh, yeah, let's just say it. We can say the D word. It's fine.
Well, I know I've shared this with you before, but I have friends who are psychics and mediums and very deeply connected people like that, and I've always been told all my life that I was going to live a very long time, and so here I'm in my late 70s, and I'm kind of going, hey, if I have to stick around here for another 20, 25 years. What do I want this life to be like? What do I need to do to prepare for a divine transition? And I want to live my life in divinity and to serve and do whatever it is that the Lord has in mind in these remaining years on this planet. So and the thing is, Claire, and I've shared this with you too before. Like I want to celebrate my death. I want to welcome it, and uh, and gosh, I don't even know what the words are, but just to and I've shared that I've had experiences in meditation of death and moving on past this particular body, and it was extraordinary, and so I want to be live my life so that when that moment comes, I'll be ready to make that journey, So
Well, you know what? I really believe that when the time comes for everybody, that and I've just been on too many deathbeds and have seen this near death awareness that many people had, that they have they're not quite across the veil yet, but it's coming, and they're seeing people that have died, their loved ones that are there to meet them and help take them across. And I think whatever your spiritual path is, not you, but plural you, that there will be guidance and support for everyone to be able to cross that threshold, and it will just be a glorious event for everyone. We may not all get a star in the sky with our name on it. I don't know. But I just think it's universal for everyone, So I'm prepared. I think it's the more practical things that I would say I still need to work on and there are a lot of practical details that need to be in place. And I'm always encouraging people to get those things in order. But
sure,
anyway.
sure,
But
no, that's good.
and because of that, that's why I really encourage people to, if you're inspired by this podcast, to be able to share it with other people and just let it be a conversation to start having with your loved ones to talk about, what's meaningful to you and how you want to die. And then if you talk about it, it's more likely to happen, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And like these men, I mean, there's such beautiful examples of like meeting your death with love and gratitude and an open heart, and ready to take that next step, that step into glory and love, they're beautiful, beautiful examples of that. Sure.
Well, you have been such a blessing in my life, Morley, and I love you so much. And I thank you for all the things that you've taught me and continue to teach me, and just the friendship that we share. It means so much to me.
Yeah.
So,
Oh yeah, thank you, Claire. No, really, and and I feel the same way about you too. I mean, I think the work that you're doing is really, it's extraordinary. I mean, it's and it's so needed. I know I've shared this with you. In our culture, there's so much fear of death and so much kind of lack of consciousness about our spiritual journeys here through our lives and through death and on to the next step of the journey, and I really hope that will change in our culture soon,
I mean, I think it's getting better. I mean, it's wheels slowly turning, but I think it's I think each generation just gets better and better. And I know that my daughters are more open to these concepts, and it's maybe it skips generations. I don't know. I just think that there's a big spiritual component to dying, and you don't have to be spiritual to be part of that component when it happens. Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm gonna let you go, and I just again can't thank you enough for this time together,
Yeah, it's been great. Yeah.
just thank you to all the listeners, and again, share, like, comment. It really makes a difference, and just thankful for being here.
Yeah, we'd love to know the comments for sure. Yes.
Well, you just get on there and make your own comments. Okay, thanks so much.
Okay, Claire. Okay, see you soon. Bye.
Thank you for joining us on Dying Your Way. If it's inspired you, then please spread the word. Leave a rating and review so others can find out about us. To learn more, connect with us on Facebook or our website at dyingyourway.com. A special thank you for the artist Mel Dobra for letting us use her song, Smoke and Flame, as the soundtrack of our show. I invite you to return, hear each episode, and be part of the conversation on death literacy. I am Claire O'Berry, and this is Dying Your Way.
Reaching high.